Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar on the Level 6 Environmental Health Practitioner Apprenticeship here at the University of Suffolk. So my name is Gemma Matten and I'm part of the business engagement team here at the university. And again, thank you for taking the time to join us today. So during this session, we'll provide an overview of the apprenticeship programme from our course lead, Edward King, and our head of business and law, David James. And we'll give you the opportunity, as I said, ask any questions at the end of the webinar. So for anybody that would like any further information about the university, our website is www.uos.ac.uk. So before we begin, I'd like to introduce you to the business engagement team. So our role is to support employers and prospective apprentices from their initial inquiry through to application and onboarding. So the team consists of Graham, who is our head of business engagement, Hannah, who is in the black jumper, she's the business engagement consultant, and then myself and Petra, who are the business engagement managers. So we work closely with employers to understand workforce development needs, discuss apprenticeship options, guide organisations through the recruitment process and support them through their onboarding stage. So once an apprentice is fully enrolled, we then hand over to the apprenticeship team who provide ongoing support throughout the apprenticeship journey. So our apprenticeship team plays a vital role in ensuring apprentices and employers receive ongoing support throughout the programme. So the team consists of Ellen, who is the contracts manager, she's in the beige jumper, Johnny, who's the apprenticeship compliance officer, he's in the blue jumper, Rob, who's the quality manager in the checkered shirt, and then we have Christine, the ILR and funding manager in the black jumper. So they oversee areas such as apprenticeship compliance, funding requirements, quality assurance, contracts and learner records. Their support helps ensure apprentices remain on track and that employers receive the guidance they need throughout their programme. So at the University of Suffolk, we are committed to supporting apprentices both academically and professionally. So the apprentices will benefit from dedicated apprenticeship support throughout their studies, opportunities for personal and professional development, helping them apply their learning directly in the workplace. They also have access to a wide range of university facilities and services, including learning resources, academic support, and student wellbeing services. So our aim is to ensure apprentices gain not only the technical knowledge required for their role, but also the confidence and professional skills needed to progress their careers. So we are proud of the outcomes that are achieved by our apprentices and the employer partners. So our current apprenticeship achievement rate is 90.8%, meaning that over 9 out of 10 apprentices successfully complete their programme. We've also got 90.8 retention rate, demonstrating the support we provide to help apprentices stay engaged and progress throughout their learning journey. So most importantly, we have achieved 100% pass rate for our apprentices reaching the apprenticeship assessment. So as you can see, the achievement and retention rate is the same. So that just shows that the apprentices that do stay on board with their apprenticeship will receive their qualification. So that reflects the quality of the preparation and support provided by our academic and apprenticeship teams, commitment to delivering high quality apprenticeship programmes that enable apprentices and employers to achieve their goals. So I am now delighted to hand you over to Edward and David. As mentioned previously, they will be providing an overview of the programme, the skills apprentices will develop, and the benefits it will bring to both individuals and employers. And again, as I say, following the presentation, you will have time to have a questions and answers session. So over to you, Ed and David.
Thank you very much, Gemma. My name is Ed King. I'm the course lead for the Environmental Health Apprenticeship degree at the University of Suffolk. And prior to this, hopefully you can see the screen, I was Assistant Director for Licensing and Regulations at London Borough of Newham, which was a massive career pivot from that into higher education. And I put up some pictures. I like using pictures. And hopefully you can see two very different set of pictures. The first is when I started in Newham in 2013, doing food hygiene inspection work. And you can see some of the horrors I faced on the front line, which will stick with me forever, coming from working in leafy North Essex. It was a complete culture shock. But when I finished my career at Newham, I was chairing the SAG for London Stadium and West Ham, leading on sports ground safety, which is something I thoroughly enjoyed. And that's a bit about my career. I graduated from Middlesex in 2009, and I've worked for the last 20 years, predominantly in Essex and London, in different areas of the profession. I've touched on housing, pollution. My focus has been commercial predominantly, and then dabbling in licensing and sports ground safety. And I'm with my colleague, David.
Hello, yeah. So my name is David James. I'm the head of business and law, and it's within this area of the university that we've developed this program. A lot of it because there's a really important part where environmental health as a profession integrates with local government, integrates with the law, which are key areas that are within the sorts of courses that we run here. And it also allows us to liaise really closely with other areas of the university, particularly for our lab space, public health. So we're able to provide a really full integrated course to study the full bandwidth of what it is and what's needed to become an environmental health practitioner.
Fantastic. So the course, which launched in February, was the fifth in the country, I believe, for the apprenticeship route into the profession. And you can see that this was picked up by the CIEH in a press release. I've got a screenshot there. And it's been really welcomed by the broader profession. Myself and David were up in Norfolk on Tuesday to promote the course with the colleagues regionally, and a lot of interest. And I think the important thing is the course was born in Suffolk through collaboration with East Suffolk Council. At the time, they were doing a bit of work with the university on safe Suffolk renters. And that led to, obviously, recognition that there's a gap in provision, especially in the east of England. And there's a desire to get new EHOs or EHPs qualified into the profession. And obviously, there's a bit here from the Royal Society of Public Health, which is one of the many sources of information, really paints a picture of the shortage we've got in the profession, with 1 in 5 people retiring from the wider public health workforce imminently. So hopefully this course is going to bridge that gap and provide the next generation of EHPs for the east of England and beyond. But a little bit about the University of Suffolk. I'm going to hand back over to my colleague David to cover the benefits of the university and the facilities we've got on offer.
So the University of Suffolk, we're located in Ipswich. There's really good connections to the region. So train being one of the principal easy ways to get in and out of Ipswich. There's good car parking, good access through the bus network, as it is the county town of Suffolk. Really good links to Norfolk, links to most of the major towns in Essex, and good links to Cambridge as well, and of course to London. So that's just a little bit about the situation. We also have lots of state-of-the-art facilities. We've got great labs here. We've got really good, nice buildings. We're in a waterfront location. It's a really excellent place to learn. We've got the Hold archives here. We've got a full learning services centre here. We have the Chambers of Commerce that sits here on the campus. We have a new pharmacy school, dentistry school here. We run a whole range of health courses, public health courses, law courses, undergraduate, postgrad, and these are all really well regarded. We're regarded as one of the best upcoming universities in the country, and you can see on screen there's a number of awards that we've won very recently, and we're viewed as really offering very high quality education, and our students enjoy their education and rate us highly, particularly for the student support and the apprentice support that we're able to give here. And as mentioned earlier by Gemma, we also have a dedicated apprenticeship team which offers all of the support for our apprenticeship courses, and we run a range of apprenticeship courses, particularly for professional courses, so social work, nursing, and environmental health as well. So we've got a good range of the courses there. I'll just hand back to Ed to say a little bit more about some of the detail of our courses.
The degree covers all the areas of environmental health you'd expect, and I won't linger on this slide for too long, but it covers the 5 broader disciplines, and it covers them equally. It's accredited by the Chartered Institute of Environmental Health, And the course itself has a really strong and vocational practitioner focus and a focus on public health. Why should local authorities choose this route? And I've come straight from local government, straight from the coalface. I had really difficult recruitment and retention challenges and an aging workforce. So this course addresses national skills shortages, but more importantly for me, it builds vocational practitioners ready to hit the workplace. We run using practitioners and we've got a very strong vocational focus on our education. So a bit about the structure. It's a 4-year degree apprenticeship, and that's worked on something called block release teaching. There's 3 modules a year, and you start with an intensive week in university, followed by 9 weeks in the workplace and 2 weeks of assessment. The good thing about this is there's 3 blocks a year, and as an employer, that means you've got students on campus for 3 weeks of the year and then learning remotely. So it's quite an effective way of learning, especially if you're further afield. In terms of off-the-job training, students log a minimum of 6 hours off-the-job training. That normally equates to 1 day working from home. We've got really good apprentice support and a dedicated practice educator, academic tutors, a really good hub. So there's really strong support for apprentices in the workplace and at university. In terms of the employer is a really important part of this relationship between the university, the apprentice, and the employer themselves. It's important that there's a good supervisor in the workplace and that apprentices are supported to be clear with what they're delivering in the workplace, whether you're upgrading an existing employee or whether it's an apprentice that's new to the workplace. It's important that they're supported and the academic provision that they get given from ourselves is embedded and contextualized in the workplace with that supervisor role, which is a very important part of the relationship between all parties. For the university itself, our responsibility is pretty clear. First of all, delivering high quality education and learning materials, and obviously promoting or monitoring attendance and progress. And we lead what's called a tripartite review. So it's a 12-weekly review between the apprentice, the employer and the university, just to make sure that things are on track and SBs, and that's knowledge, skills and behaviours. And between the university and the employer, we log and track that as the education progresses. So those 12 weekly meetings are really important. But the apprentice themselves, they have a responsibility to take ownership of their learning, to attend training, to maintain their on-the-job logs, and to engage in reviews, and most importantly, communicate any issues early between the employer and between the university. We're quite conscious that an apprenticeship is challenging and that they've got to manage a workload and on-the-job training, but also academic study. So we like to set clear guidance on how that can be balanced effectively. And if there are any issues, how they can reach out to both the employer and the university for support so they can focus their time in the right areas. But more importantly, and I think this is what you'll be most interested in, I want to talk you through the structure of the course. You might not be aware of levels, so level 4, level 5, level 6. Level 4 is tailored for an apprentice who's coming straight into the workplace, but level 6 is a degree level of study. We start with level 4 modules, and these are like the building blocks of the degree. So we cover governance and regulation, and that's basically how councils work, and governance and process, which is important to understand in the workplace setting that they're going to be practicing in. We cover regulatory compliance. This is a brilliant module on investigation, prosecution, PACE, RIPA, all the investigation skills that need to be an effective officer. And then after that, we cover science and data and environmental health. The thought around this is giving a good induction to science and maths and the basic academic principles they'll need to be a successful officer before we broadly cover environmental health law, very, very broadly, all areas of law. So they've got a good grounding in legislation. So that's the first building blocks. The last module we've run, hopefully you can see the photos here, was regulatory compliance, which is a brilliant module. And I wanted to put these photos up to give you a flavour of the learning style that we like to promote in university. And what it is a really healthy mixture of academic study, but also practical vocational skills. So you can see, for example, the students went to court to sit in the public gallery to observe a trial. And this was really, really good because it was the first time that many of them had actually been in court. We took them through going through security, being searched, and it embedded the knowledge that they've been taught around how magistrate courts function. We've also got our own mock court at university, which is fully functioning mock court, which is a fantastic training tool. So students were able to take on a case from beginning to end, and we used a fly tip example and build up a case file, write witness statements, be in the witness box, be cross-examined, and really put into practice their learning. We also really promote field trips and collaborating with other local authorities. And you can see we took the students out to Suffolk, Mid-Suffolk and Bay Council, and we had a practical session on PACE, so interviewing under caution, which again really helps just put into practice the knowledge that we teach. And again, I think the focus on our courses being practitioner-led and giving apprentices really strong vocational readiness to enter the workplace. So once we've covered the basics, we move on to level 5, and this really starts to delve into the main areas of environmental health. And you'll all recognise these as housing and health, obviously really pertinent at the moment with the Renters' Rights Act, environmental protection, food safety, contamination and control, and occupational health and safety. And we begin to get a really good thorough grounding in the main 4 areas of professional practice, noticing that they're equally balanced in terms of importance. And then we move on to level 6, which is the final modules. And this is really about going further into depth in the specialisms and focusing on interventions and outcomes. So putting theory into practice, gaining practical skills and abilities. So if we take housing, for example, and that could be an HHSRS assessment, or basically putting into practice those academic vocational skills we taught them. And that splits between 2 modules, one covering housing and environmental protection, and one covering food safety and occupational health and safety. As part of this, they also do the 3-day food qualification in terms of assessing food fitness. And then we finish off with a career planning professional development and their endpoint assessment, which is the end of their apprenticeship. And that takes the form of a professional exam and interview, which mirrors the CIEH requirements that they have to do for professional registration. We also finish with a dissertation at the end. Delivering public health solutions, that's a really important part of the course. And we spread that public health focus throughout the whole course, right from the beginning through the middle modules to the end. So everything we study, whether it be housing or food or health and safety, we link to public health and have a public health focus on what we're studying, as we are, in effect, public health practitioners. So hopefully that gives you a flavour of the course and some examples of the mixture between academic learning, visits and practical assignments. I'd just like to finish with why partner with the University of Suffolk. Well, obviously it's an industry-aligned curriculum, so we are accredited by the CIEH. Really importantly, I know I keep repeating this, but it's delivered by practitioners. And that's not just myself, it's practitioners that come in as guest lecturers. They could be someone that's an expert in acoustics, for example. It's very vocationally focused, which I think is really important. I think David's touched on the facilities we have, and coming into the University of Suffolk, I've been really impressed, not just by the academic skills across the different schools, which touch on environmental health, for example, food and nutrition, directly related to our food module, but the facilities in terms of the labs and the mock court. The mock court we've just used in our last module, and the labs will be being used on our next module in September. Really good collaboration with employers, and the actual course itself was written by practitioners, was written by employers, so it's very vocationally focused. I'm a strong believer that apprentices contribute value immediately from day one, so they're really, really valuable in the workplace, and it supports workforce development and succession planning, which I think we all recognise is a particularly acute issue within our sector. And again, to finish, and this is really important for me, I'm from East Anglia and I took up this role because we are delivering training which helps with sustainability in the East of England for our profession, which is what we all want to see. But lastly, there's a QR code there for our business solutions team, and any further information can be got from them by using the QR code. So that's it from myself. Hopefully it's given you a flavour of the course. It'll be really good to take any questions that you may have. I'll hand back to Gemma. Thank you.
Fabulous. Thanks ever so much, Ed and David. That was actually really insightful. If you do have questions, you can always contact us afterwards, because I know what it's like after meetings like this. You then suddenly think of questions. You can always contact us at businesssolutions at uos.ac.uk. And obviously, we'll be happy to support you. So I hope today's session has given you a clear understanding of the programme, the benefits it can bring to individuals and organisations, and how apprenticeships can support workforce development through these skills. So once again, thank you for your time, and we look forward to working with you in the near future. Thank you for joining us.